everyone, welcome back to my channel. So a few weeks ago, I made this post on my community page on YouTube, and it basically says, hey guys, wanted to share this easy to use, beginner-friendly team that is absolutely dominating for me now in the Open Great League. Keep in mind this was 3 weeks ago, so it was last season, so I'm not sure if this team still works now. However, the keywords here are beginner-friendly, and looking at what the team actually is, it's going to be Shadow Venusaur with Azu and Shadow Feraligatr in the back. Now, while the strategy to run this team might be beginner-friendly, the Pokemon on it definitely aren't, because if you look at the team, you need 2 Pokemon with Community Day moves, and those are going to be Venusaur with Frenzy Plant and Feraligatr with Hydro Cannon. And my Azu is also fully XL, so in reality, the team isn't that beginner friendly. Someone also pointed this out to me in the comments, and I 100% agree with them. They said, beginner teams should not require legacy moves. If I can reach Ace and Veteran with regular Pokemon, you should be able to find a cheaper team for people that don't have crazy resources or time, but do want to try PvP with whatever they found. And that, guys, is going to bring us to today's video, where I sort of challenged myself, although it wasn't much of a challenge because the new meta that we have is very beginner friendly. There are a lot of Pokemon that do not require legacy moves and XLs. So I made up a few rules for the team that I use today, and those rules are: I'm not allowed to use any XL Pokemon, I'm not allowed to use any Pokemon that have any legacy or Community Day moves, I'm not allowed to use any legendaries, mythicals, or ultra beasts, and all the Pokemon I'm using have to be spawning in the wild right now or are available in eggs, so they have to be obtainable at the current moment. Now, the team I ended up building, there's nothing special about it, but it is very solid. All 3 Pokemon on it are going to be top meta this season. It also gets an A for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and B for consistency. On PvPoke, it is going to be Mandibuzz lead with Gastrodon and Clodsire in the back. I would say the hardest Pokemon on this team to get is that Mandibuzz, because you're going to have to hatch a 12 km egg to get it. I'm not sure if they're still spawning in the wild. They used to very rarely spawn in the wild. And for the other 2, Shellos is going to be very commonly found in the wild, and Paldean Wooper is spawning in the wild at the moment as well. And now I know it got a Community Day, but Megahorn, which is the Community Day move that Clodsire got, is not one of its recommended moves because it's going to perform so much better with Stone Edge and Earthquake, or if you want, you can run it with Sludge Bomb. So you can literally go out now, catch a Paldean Wooper in the wild, evolve it, and it will be ready to go for Great League. Now, I also could have picked a Pokemon that would have been a lot easier to catch than Mandibuzz. However, I also wanted to build a team that was going to have good synergies, that worked really well in the current meta that we're seeing. I didn't want to just recommend a team of random Pokemon stuck together for you guys, so I wanted to find a team that actually works, which is why I went with that Mandibuzz. But of course, there are other Pokemon in the meta that are going to be much easier to get, like Clefable, Dunsparce, and Marowak, but you replace Mandibuzz with any one of those and the team becomes unbalanced, which is why I went with the team that you guys are seeing on the screen right now. In general, Clodsire and Mandibuzz work so well together. I should point out, however, this team is entirely weak to Abomasnow. Thank goodness they're not that common, otherwise I would have gotten destroyed. But if you do see Abomasnow, you will struggle a little bit against it. However, Mandibuzz does have Aerial Ace to hit for super effective, and Clodsire is going to be able to fight back with that Poison Sting and Stone Edge. Now, for the most part, I safe swapped Clodsire because Clodsire is much bulkier and it can handle a lot more things that are in the meta. Even up against its hardest counters, it's still going to hurt. So I would recommend using that Clodsire as a safe swap. Anyways, that is enough rambling from me. I've been talking for way too long. Let's get into these battles. In this first match, our lead is going to be up against a Shadow Feraligatr. Now, we are resisting the fast move, however, I have to watch out for an Ice Beam. I unfortunately get baited on the first move. They go for a Hydro Cannon, and then the second move, which I don't shield, is an Ice Beam. So we take the Ice Beam, however, Mandibuzz is super bulky and it survives. I'm able to take both shields from my opponent's Feraligatr. They swap into Clodsire, I bring in Gastrodon, and then my opponent top lefts, although I think they should have stayed in because they had so much energy on the Feraligatr, sorry. So they might have had a chance to flip that. Moving on to the next match, we're going to be up against a Shadow Driftblim, which you would think is a good matchup for Mandibuzz, but that Shadow Icy Wind is going to hurt. My opponent swaps into a Dunsparce, and I'm going to bring in Gastrodon because I don't want to take any drill runs on my Clodsire. Clodsire is also going to be able to handle the Driftblim somewhat with the Stone Edges. However, you'll see what ends up happening to me. I actually do get destroyed in this match, but I am going to be able to take this Dunsparce out. I go ahead and I shield once just so that I could align my Mandibuzz to their Driftblim. I'm going to bring in Mandibuzz now, and they immediately swap into a Diggersby. Okay, tricky. I can't bring Clodsire into this because the Scorching Sands are going to destroy me, so I'm hoping this Diggersby only has access to Fire Punch and not Hyper Beam. It looks like they're running Fire Punch and Scorching Sands, so I'm going to stay in this with my Mandibuzz, and hopefully I can take this out, but the damage is starting to add up. I am now in the yellow. Those quick attacks are also starting to add up, and I don't think I can take another Fire Punch. One more Dark Pulse is not going to be enough to take this thing out because it is so bulky. I'm able to reach another Aerial Ace, and my opponent lets their Diggersby go, but now my Mandibuzz is in the red, and it looks like I'm only going to be able to reach one move on Mandibuzz. I should have swapped immediately because now my opponent has so much energy on this Driftblim, and I am only going to be able to reach one Stone Edge. But here's the problem. This Driftblim was able to get 2 Icy Winds off on my Clodsire, and that means we are debuffed twice, and this Stone Edge is not going to come close to KOing the Driftblim. Our fast move is also resisted. They're going to be able to reach another Icy Wind, take our Clodsire out, and then they're able to astonish our Mandibuzz down, and we got destroyed by a Shadow Driftblim in that match. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Dunsparce, which is not a great lead for our Mandibuzz because they are going to be able to hit us for super effective damage with those rock-type moves. Now, I had intended to catch one of the rock slides from this Dunsparce on one of my back Pokemon, but I wasn't sure about when my opponent was going to throw their charged move. It looks like they were throwing as soon as they got it. A lot of people will do one more fast move and then throw just in case you go for a catch. But I was just stuck there taking rock slides on my Mandibuzz because I wasn't sure if I should catch now or wait. So now my Mandibuzz is extremely low in red HP. They bring in an Azu, and I decide to swap Gastrodon into it. I'm able to take a shield from them, and then I can even land an Earth Power on the Azu, get them into the red, and now I can bring in my Clodsire, and I wanted to go for a farm down, but my opponent swaps into a Shadow Feraligatr. I'm in a good position because I have 2 shields left. I'm going to go ahead and double shield my Clodsire up against this Feraligatr. Whatever the other 2 Pokemon that they have left is going to throw against Clodsire, it's not going to hurt as much as the Hydro Cannons. So I'm able to shield there, and then I swap out actually into my Mandibuzz and I go for a Dark Pulse. It's enough to take the Feraligatr out, and I have a Clodsire left with a lot of energy on it. My opponent is going to have to reach 2 drill runs to take us out, but I'm going to be able to reach that Earthquake before they can, and then Azu is really low that I can Poison Sting it down and take it out. And take that win. GG's to our opponent. Now this next battle is one of my favorites in this video. We are going to be up against a Shadow Machamp, and I really have to watch out for that Stone Edge. It is going to hurt our Mandibuzz. I thought they would throw it on the first move, so I shielded. Unfortunately, we get baited with a Cross Chop, but I am going to be able to reach 2 Aerial Aces. We take their first shield with the first one, and then they let the second one go. And now I'm going to slow it down because I wait 2 turns to catch a Stone Edge on my Clodsire. We do that successfully, and it is barely going to hurt our Clodsire because it is going to be resisted. Our opponent does bring in a Feraligatr now. However, I should be able to survive a Hydro Cannon from them and still be able to reach an Earthquake. I'm really hoping they don't shield this because the Feraligatr could be dangerous for my backline. They don't. They're in the red now, and now I can bring in my Gastrodon and go for a full Mud Slap down and have a ton of energy for whatever my opponent has in the back. I don't think they can reach a move on their Machamp. They bring it in. No, they can reach a move. Never mind. I'm going to shield the Cross Chop from Machamp, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Clodsire. I'm going to bait with the Body Slam, We take their final shield, and then I'm even able to reach an Earth Power. This is really going to hurt the Clodsire, getting them into the red. And now I'm just going to let my Gastrodon go. Our Mandibuzz is still very healthy. I should be able to take a Stone Edge and survive and reach move on the Clodsire. So my opponent goes ahead and top lefts, and we take that win. GG's to our opponent. And that is going to be a 4-1 in that first set. On to the next battle, we are going to get a Gastrodon on the lead, and Mandibuzz is absolutely going to destroy this. So my opponent swaps into a Clodsire. I can bring in my Gastrodon up against his Clodsire, and I'm going to go ahead and shield the first Earthquake, because if they can get to 2, they can actually take our Gastrodon out. They get to another Earthquake. I'm just going to let this one go, and I'm not going to go for the Earth Power. I'm going to go for Body Slam, because this is going to get them low enough to where I can Mud Slap them down and then have so much energy for the next Pokemon that's going to come back in, and they bring in a Talonflame. I almost force quit my app there. Thank goodness I don't, but we're going to start spamming out these Body Slams. The second Body Slam gets a shield from them. I go for a third Body Slam, and we take their final shield, and I'm even able to reach a fourth Body Slam on this Talonflame. Now they barely have any health left, and I'm just going to bring in my Clodsire, let whatever this is go. It is the Flame Charge. And I even let the next move go. It is going to be a Fly. It hurts quite a bit because it is buffed, but I reached that Stone Edge, and now we can take that Talonflame out, swap into our Mandibuzz against our Gastrodon, and my opponent is going to go ahead and top left. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against the 2022 World Champion. No pressure. This match, by the way, was really, really good. Their first Pokemon is going to be a Shadow Feraligatr. I'm just going to go straight Dark Pulse. I was worried they would go for Ice Beam, so I went ahead and I shielded, but they are going to go straight Hydro Cannon in this matchup, and it turns out that Shadow Feraligatr can win in the one shield going straight Hydro Cannon against Mandibuzz. I'm able to land the second Dark Pulse, and at this point, I decide to let my Mandibuzz go. They are in the red, so I should be able to Mud Slap them down with our Gastrodon. Now, I don't want to use my final shield. Like I said, if I don't know what they have in the back, then I'm not going to shield. They have an Araquanid, and Araquanid is going to be resisting the ground-type moves from my Gastrodon, so I swap immediately into my Clodsire. Unfortunately, I have to take a Water Pulse. It hurts, but then my opponent swaps into their own Clodsire, and I'm able to land an Earthquake on it, but now I have to shield their Earthquake because I need my Clodsire alive for their Araquanid. I farm up a little extra energy before throwing this Earthquake, and thankfully they let it go. Clodsire is now out of the way, but I still have this extremely bulky bug type to deal with the 2 Pokemon that I have left. At least I'm able to get their shield out of the way with the Stone Edge, and then I go for a catch on the Water Pulse with my Gastrodon, but they undercharge their move, and they are going to be able to farm me down. I only reach 1 Body Slam as well. If I had reached a second Body Slam, I would have won this, because this Stone Edge is not going to be enough to take the Araquanid out. They're going to be able to reach another Water Pulse, take her Clodsire out, survive with very little HP. They were literally 1 HP, and take that win. But that was such a good match, and it was so close. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to see a terrible lead of Azu. I swap immediately into my Clodsire, and my opponent is choosing to stay in. Now, I've noticed a lot of people are using Azu as a Clodsire answer because it can hit for super effective with that Ice Beam, and because most Clodsires are going to be running Stone Edge and Earthquake, not Sludge Bomb. So my opponent's staying in. I'm able to reach another Earthquake, but my opponent is going to go ahead and shield that, and I can even reach a third Earthquake before my opponent throws another Ice Beam. We take them out, and my opponent brings in a Ferrothorn. Okay, at least I'm able to reach another Earthquake, and this is going to take out half of their health, and now I can bring in Mandibuzz, but unfortunately I am going to have to take a Thunder from this Ferrothorn, which is going to be super effective, but it doesn't do that much damage, honestly. We're going to go for a Dark Pulse now up against this Ferrothorn, and we take their final shield. So I decide to shield myself as well because I have Gastrodon in the back, and Gastrodon is going to be taking 4 times super effective damage from the Grass type moves from Ferrothorn. Their final Pokemon is going to be Wigglytuff, and because they don't have any shields left, I'm able to land an Earth Power before they can go for a move. We're almost able to take them out with Gastrodon. I can come in with Mandibuzz, snarl them down, and then have energy ready for Ferrothorn. This Dark Pulse is enough to take it out, and we can take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a Shadow Alolan Marowak, which is such a good lead for our Mandibuzz because we absolutely wall them. Our opponent swaps into a Lokix, and at this point, I'm not sure why so many people are trying to make this work because every time I've come up against it, I've destroyed it, and I am now discouraged from trying it myself. But I'm able to go for 2 Aerial Aces up against this Lokix, take it out, and my opponent is going to bring Shadow Marowak back into our Mandibuzz. They are core broken by Mandibuzz. I can go for a Dark Pulse here, take a shield from my opponent, and I should be able to reach another move if my opponent doesn't throw, but they throw Shadow Bone. I think this should be enough to take us out. It is, and now I am going to bring in Gastrodon because Gastrodon is going to be able to hit for super effective with those Mud Slaps. My opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Shadow Cacturn, which is such a spicy pick, but I have Clodsire left, so they go ahead and they top left. It's really interesting to me how many people are quitting against this team. This just shows how strong this really cheap team is. So if you guys can run it, I would highly recommend it, especially if you're a beginner and you have access to these Pokemon. Definitely give it a go. But guys, this is going to be the final battle of this video. It's going to be another win, giving us another 4-1 with this budget team. If you've stuck around and watched for this long, thank you so much. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing, maybe leave a like, it helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!